One of the most difficult things to change is our sense of self, our core identity. This is something that is formed when we're very young, before our memories are really developed. They are usually based on our relationship with our earliest caregivers, for example, our parents. And they don't have to be explicit messages. It's not about, or it's not necessarily about our parents telling us that we can succeed or do anything we want, or that we're smart or talented. It can just be about how well they truly see us. Do they acknowledge our feelings? When we're interested in something, do they think it's worth spending the time with us just because we're interested in that? Or perhaps they don't quite understand us, and then the most well-meaning parent doesn't necessarily understand their children fully. The point being that it's not always, it's not necessarily about the attention, but sometimes the goodness of fit between the parent and the child. Unfortunately, in some of these cases, a child that feels unseen, or whose feelings and thoughts, interests are not acknowledged, can grow up being an adult who doesn't know their own thoughts and feelings because they were never really paid attention to. And the ones that they do have, they tend to deprecate them because that's what they took away from the relationship with their initial caregivers. Changing this is very tricky because they're very core values. They're the way we've seen ourselves our entire lives, but they also represent a connection to that parent or caregiver. So and it's not an easy thing. You can't just undo these things, but there's a need to hold on to these beliefs, because holding on to those beliefs are also a connection to those people in our lives that were very important to us, even if they're no longer around. And so when we try to deal with these things in therapy, it can be very complicated, because to change those ideas about oneself means to, in a certain way, to destroy the vision we've had of our parents. It might be an idealized version of them, but that vision is also tied into our entire sense of the world. So getting rid of it can also leave us feeling very raw and naked and unable to cope with even the most basic things that life throws at us. Now, this is a great thing to work on in therapy, but it can take a long time, and it can be very frightening, and it's one of the reasons why things often can feel worse before they get better in therapy. But it's important to remember that getting to that place, as scary as it is and as lost as you may feel, is a sign of progress, and it's an opportunity to rebuild and become a version of yourself that makes more sense for who you are, as opposed to the child you once were.